if
that's
I
all the
go
negative
now,
stuff we see. If we push out all positive stuff for Black people, Hispanic people, white people, the next time you see those people, you might just have a positive thought before a negative one.
that problem really exists here in America, right? It really exists here in our country because of the way we see crime, and it's really done purposefully. When you travel outside of the states, if you go to like Europe, you say you go to Asia, some places, people have a high esteem for Black people. It's because of every time they see a Black guy, it's Black Panther. Every time they see a Black person, it's an athlete. They see Black people.
Perception, Kobe or LeBron,
it's LeBron, it's Kobe, it's
Jordan,
it's somebody. Oh snap, Jay-Z performed or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, you must be incredibly talented. You must be. So whenever I go outside of the country, oh man, like what do you do? People are interested.
Do you play basketball?
Yeah, what do you like? Can we play basketball? People ask me. That's kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. But can we play? Yes, we'll play. Oh snap, you're good. I'm just hey, just all right. You know what I mean? But these are kind of the things that people are asking. When I walk into a room anywhere else, it could be, oh snap, this person might be dangerous. This person might be a threat.
Because they just finished watching the news this morning or last night of some Black man committing a certain crime.
You know
what I mean? But I bet you anything, they show something positive, they be like,
and they all look the same. Black people all look the same for some reason. And when these routine stops occur, you don't know if it's Black men code red, code yellow, code green, but we're all treated on the same equality of you are representing a Black man before you're representing yourself. All right. Okay. So this is an open discussion. We're talking about racial inequality, and everything like that. I was thinking about how can we just easily jump into this small can of worms. Nobody cares about this stuff. How do we easily jump into this? I think a good way is just to start with our backgrounds and basically explain like, a little bit of our story, kind of like where our minds are. So I'm gonna go first, all right?
All right, go ahead.
So for myself, I am second generation American. So that means my folks are from an island, they're from Dominica, and they came up here, they had me. So the way I grew up was just a little bit different. Both of them are college grads, so they're educated people. In terms of like career and everything, it's been pretty stable for years. Like financially, it's like what people make normal for like median salary. I've gotten just a little bit above that. And college grad myself. And yeah, Black Caribbean. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Okay. And myself, second generation American. Actually, my mother was born in Jersey, and my father actually was in the process. My grandmother was in the process going from Cuba to Spain to here, because you couldn't come back then. You couldn't come directly from Cuba to the United States. You needed to go from another country and then here. So she was actually pregnant with my father. So while they were in Spain, he was born for like a month or two, and then they flew over here. So basically, it's a second generation. I mean, my parents spoke to me in English, and my grandparents and the rest of them spoke to me in Spanish. So they're both. My father now is a college grad, and my mom didn't finish college, but she finished high school, and my father was down here, and I lived more up there. My father, they were divorced, so I lived in Jersey with my mother more, and in poverty. Over there in Patterson, West New York, and all those areas there. So my father was more successful down here, as in law enforcement. But yeah. So now I ended up living in that poverty, I learned, and I can see, and I was just didn't want it. I didn't want that for me or my family for the rest of my life. Even though, my stepfather and mom worked very hard, they were just at a different level. So I just knew that myself, I needed to go beyond that to live a better life than that. So I went to I got like 4 more credits to finish with my bachelor's degree now. I got cut short with that because I got my career earlier than expected in law enforcement. So I've been busy with all that, with training and all that, and overtime and all of that in life, so how it changes. But I am now back in college, and I'm finishing up the last 4 classes that I have left for my bachelor's.
Hey man,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, brother. So
Yeah.
things have settled down, so I have my house, and I have a career, and I just had that hanging on the back burner, and I got to finish that. So I'm back in. I'm taking one class, 2 classes a semester now, so I'll be done this December.
Hey man,
So,
yo, congratulations, man. That's a long route, dog. That's a long route. You did it. You
and
did it.
my wife is a college graduate, so we definitely want that have, that role model and that expectation for our children, even though, we were sold a different thing about college when we were going to college. We were told by our parents, hey, you got to go to college, go to college, make money and this and that. But long and behold, the majority of the people that went to college are in severe debt,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
some of them don't even have jobs.
yeah.
Yeah, some of them don't even have jobs. Debt, no
They don't
work.
even have jobs, and they're collecting interest. So,
Mhm.
so I want to have that precedent for my children, even though I won't push it on them. As long as my children find the direction where they will be successful, I will back them up 100%.
Same, yeah.
College or not, you
Right,
know what I mean?
right. Yeah, that's smart. My father, he has a degree in social work, but he has a strong career in like construction and electrical, like journeyman mastery work,
That's equivalent or better. That's
It's
equivalent or better to
far
college.
better, far
You
better.
know, yeah, there's people that go to college, don't even remember what they learned. They leave with a piece of paper, but you know what? You can't take that away from technical jobs. With technicians and all that. Those people come into your house and they work magic, and you don't even know how they did it.
Yep,
So,
always. So there's just a good idea of where we're coming from, where our minds are. Jose, myself, we're from Patterson. That's our common
yep,
ground. And
yep.
in terms of there's something I'm missing here. Something I'm missing. We'll just start where we started the discussion. We started
Yeah,
this discussion talking about racial inequality. Does it even exist?
correct.
So we went a little bit back and forth, but my initial point was that racial inequality does does there's parts where it doesn't exist in terms of opportunity,
Yeah,
because we both have opportunity to and access to education. We have access to banking. We have opportunities to vote. We're not held back. However, I do actually believe there are places where there is a disparity and it is unequal because of that disparity, and because of that disparity there is inequality, and based on perception and awareness and these kinds of things.
yeah. Well, my take. Well, it's just in the world we live now in 2020, there is no law that is specific to a certain race. Everyone has the same laws and opportunities to them. You know, so if somebody wants to claim that the Black community is shortened by our country as a whole, I don't believe that, because I believe that we've been past that. Yes, in the past, yes, but luckily we are America and we grow throughout the years and we continue to better ourselves. So I believe that now we're at a certain level where everybody has the same equal opportunity, either for financial or for law or for just to do whatever you want. If you wake up one day and you're like, hey, I want to do something, you can actually go online yourself, no matter what race you are, research, or no matter what race you are, and apply no matter what race you are. Nobody's holding someone back specifically for a certain race.
Right. And I hear that. Okay, so just to recap, skills. We have access to as many as we want. I just talked about my father. Started where he didn't know all this electrical stuff. Now he's a master at doing it. From taking the time out.
We all have the same human brains. We all have human brains. It's just depending on your drive and
Right.
your motivation and your will to do it. You know,
Right.
and if it was easy, everybody would do it.
It's not easy.
Yeah,
It's
correct.
not
So
easy.
yeah,
The
if it was easier,
there are disparities that I see in two places, because you're right with the facts, with the saying that we do have access to everything we have access to. You know, college is not necessarily being held from anyone who doesn't want to work for it.
correct.
If you want to open a bank, you can do so. You want to get your driver's license, you can do so. You can vote, you can join the military, whatever.
Mhm,
The sky's the limit. When it
correct.
comes to inequality, I see it mostly in two places.
Okay.
I see the inequality first with education. Not that we're being not that anyone's being held back, but the one thing that stems and roots the disparity is mostly generational, and it's a more of a mindset thing. And the reason why we might be a little detached from it is because our parents are detached from this whole American experience. Mine, their minds are, Caribbean. Like, our stories start in a farm somewhere. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like my like my grandparents' stories start like fishing and
Okay.
doing servant work.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And
I get what you mean.
incredible in poverty. When they talk about poverty, their poverty doesn't compare to our poverty. It's
So yeah, due to their struggles, we are at a level to have certain opportunities now, to be able to have the opportunities we have. You know, we're not on the farm. We were our parents had brought, they
right.
had that they built that foundation, and now we're at a level where we're able to we're opened up to a lot more opportunities
Right.
now.
So, and they're able to see success in a different kind of way, build upon it, improve.
Correct.
And these are kinds of the lessons that they instill in us: build upon it, improve. So I have that, inside of my own mind state. Always, okay, what can I do? I want to follow similar examples. When it comes to things that are more generational, more American, Black American specifically, there's not so many examples of this. There's been generations on generations where there has not necessarily been a steady um, rate of progress. For many some Black Americans, in our generation now, some people are first generation college graduates. You know,
Yeah.
while when it comes to other races across the board, they've been going to
Like
schools since the
yeah, like Harvard
inception.
or Yale since
Of
1897.
course, yeah, since it
Yeah.
started. I
Yeah. Yeah.
work in finance now, and that's education. When you are used to seeing no one go to school, immediately your mind says, no one goes to school.
I don't have to go to school either. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have to go.
Yeah.
When
Well,
it
there's a thing on that too, because my mother didn't go to college, and well, she like took one or two classes, and then my father just recently went back to school and got it,
Mhm.
because he got his career early on, and back then you didn't really need it. But so in the sense, I started college when I was 18, 17 actually, in the summer program, and at that point I was the first one to go to college full time, and I just had a sense where I just wanted to do better. I wanted to do better than my parents. I just knew that I lived in that I don't want poverty is a really strong word, but that sense of poverty that for such a long time that I just looked around and I was just like, this is not for me. This can't be for me forever, and I need to do better. I need to do better. I need to somehow do certain way better. And I got my financial aid. I went through college, and moved, applied, did internships, and I just kept striving and striving and digging, and I think that if people could do that, they could be on the same page.
I think so too. I think, and we're starting to see like a slow curve in that direction. I don't think it's fast enough, but it's happening. you know,
Yeah.
but we're inside of that same thing where we're seeing it happen. We're still having these conversations. Is there so much inequality? There's so much inequality because it's a slow burn, it's a slow progress or a slow climb up, I should say.
And it has to do a lot with raising as well. You know, like they say in the Black community that, you know, a lot due to certain crime laws that, you know, fathers have been stripped from homes, and their father figures are very important to children for their for future success. You know, usually if there's a father in the house, kids don't have to go to work so early, you know, or, you know, they'll have a sense of raising, you know. So I think that a lot of like people in those communities lose that sense of success because they just see that stripped away from their family so early on, you know.
Especially men. Black, like we'll talk about that. I'm waiting to
My
get on
bad.
a
Am I jumping
discussion
ahead? My bad. My
of
bad.
black men. Yeah, I'm really trying to get into what I think is the root first, but
That's a stem. That's a stem,
it's a stem.
hard
It's a
stem.
stem.
And a lot of
The
people don't
family.
they just lose their way sometimes, you know. And I know there's many great Black men in the world where, like yourself, that strive and succeed and didn't lose that sense of direction, you know. And it could be, you know, there's different senses of direction. And we know that there's people that just, you know, you see kids getting scholarships out of these places, you know, that stayed on the right track. You know, maybe they had both parents, maybe they had both parents as a second generation, you know, college, you know, or whatever it may be. So it does
There,
start at home.
there's so many reasons for that.
Yeah.
And I wish I could speak on what's going on in the psychology of what's causing that, but I truly don't know. I can only know for, you know, my experience and the experience of the guys like I know in my life. It really has to do in like something with your environment. It's environmental, more cultural, like how you said raising. You don't really raise yourself.
You don't.
You are raised.
You're a product of your environment.
You're a product of your environment. When you're not seeing that level of success, that measure. I'm really close with my family, and all of them are very hard workers. When and my parents were like career people, so that's what I aspired to be, going to school. I was like, I know I'm going to do this, you know, someday, and it happened even quicker than I thought. Like, oh, no, we're doing the same
Mhm.
job. I'm not
Mhm.
even out of my 30s yet. This is
But
crazy.
that's because you never stopped. You started early on
Yeah.
to strive for success, and you didn't take a break. You know,
I didn't know there was another option. You know what
I
I
didn't
mean?
think so either. I started working at 14. I applied to college at 17. I trust me, I wanted to stop. I wanted to stop. I wanted to take a semester off. I wanted to take another semester off, but I just didn't. You know, I didn't. People have told me, don't do it. You're never going to go back, all this stuff. So I kept following the path, you know, and then, you know, internships too. Nobody wants to apply to an internship. Nobody wants to go through that struggle to have to compete with others to get an internship spot of 5 or 6 or 8, you know. But if you got that drive of uninterrupted drive, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And that's why we're early on where we're at, because we didn't
There,
stop.
there's an interesting like concept of like competition specifically. When there's inequality, you can say it. I mean, it has to be competitive. When it comes to Black people in general, like the stats on it, where the lowest earners, men and women, actually women are more in somewhere in the middle, but Black men on the very lowest totem, right? So when it comes to education, and Black men were also on the lowest totem too, and a lot of that has to do
Oh,
with
we could say the same about Hispanic people too, right?
I don't know the stats on that.
You know, because a lot of people come in, you know, illegally, you
Okay.
know, you know, and don't have that foundation. And,
Mhm.
you know, there are many successful people that from the Hispanic community that come out as well. And some don't, you know, some go into wrong paths and some strive and make it too.
Well, going back to what I was saying about education being the biggest disparity,
Hmm.
the second biggest has to do with finance. And it really just ties into that whole discussion of how you're being raised up, because you're just a sum of the influences that you see. And when it comes to finances, finances are in the Black community, they're it's troubling. And that's some information that I have privy to, since this is the, my career, where my mind's at. We didn't really get financial advising or advisors until the mid 60s, while other
Yeah,
people had them since the 1900s. So in
yeah,
terms of inequality means there is a competition versus other people, and where do you fall in line on that, on the graphs or stats or whatever. If we're
right.
getting so
That's
much
a big
huh? Oh, so if we're getting
that's a
so
big
much
problem.
financial information so late in the game, it puts us at a disadvantage.
Disadvantage. Hmm.
And we're still seeing, even today, even though now we're 60 years in, there's still levels that we haven't gotten to. And just on a
Yeah.
community,
Well, the big problem with that is it not being in our school systems. A big problem of that is not having it in our school system.
but that was going to be my point with education. The school
Yeah.
systems are massively different because of finances. Our communities are low income, so our education becomes low income as well. It doesn't have the same fire starters, the same programs to keep kids incentivized to go to school, to start getting into STEM, to start getting
Hmm.
into more high earning career potentials. We don't have that. Luckily, I went to a private school, that my parents sent me to, a Christian private school. And I went to the school, and most of everyone who are my contemporaries, the people that I'm with, they're doing great. And I got lucky because my friend group were all people who were hardworking, striving guys. So my peer group were always, pushing the limits. So in terms of what I had to do, I had to just to, you don't really think about being in competition with your friends, but you do it, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you're just going to
Yeah,
max
product of
out
your
on what
environment.
your friends do.
You don't want to get left behind. When you have when you have someone succeeding in front of you, you're motivated to do the same.
Of
That's the thing.
course.
You're motivated to do the same. And from what you said, it sounds to me that it just comes down to money. It
Yeah.
comes down to money because that private school is supplied by parents who have to dish out a lot of money monthly, yearly, and opposed to public schools that get sometimes shorted through their county budget. You know what I mean? Sometimes the budget of that county prioritizes other things than education. And that's a whole other level of an issue too, because local governments, let's say like Patterson, do get a certain amount of money from the country, grants, the federal government grants, this and that. Now, what are they doing with it? Are they privately pocketing it? Are they spending it irresponsibly, in places that we don't really need, more important than education? That's where it comes down to as well. So unfortunately, yes, I guess we can agree on that is the inequality part, but is it racial? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the part that I think is the disparity. And it's racial because it's financial, but it's only
Because it
financial.
targets hard areas which are predominantly Black or Hispanic.
It's not deliberate. So when it comes
No.
to thinking
Yeah.
about things being like racial and inequality, it instantly triggers, what am I doing to you that's making this thing racial against you? Am I pushing anything against you? Am I physically holding you down or systematically holding you down or whatever? And the answer is no.
That's
No
the
one
word I was
is
looking for.
no,
Systematic racism is that's the word I was
systematic
looking for.
racism. Okay. Yeah,
That's the word. Systematic racism. Yeah.
no one is holding you down from access to anything. However, in terms of time, there are people who've had resources and a game plan 50, 60, 70, 100 years in, while some people have been given a game plan 50, 60, 70 years later. And we're watching people saying, hey, you guys should be doing the same things at the same level. That's just not the case. For
And to
for
stem off
for
that,
us to
then we
be
should.
doing everything at the same level, there has to be something to bridge the gap. Now, there are incentives and ways that people are bridging the gap, but without that, the school system stay the same. Our education stays the same. There has to be people who are literally what I would consider agents of progress who get inside of those systems and say, hey, let's do something to educate further, to push this idea that there's something greater further. Without that, we'll have another 5, 10, 20 years of no progress. It'll continue to be
It's
the
just
same.
it's exposure to success.
Yes.
You know, if it's exposure to success, it's just that if, you know, like we said, if somebody from, you know, that came out that was successful comes back in, you know, all those kids would have a role model to look up to. But if they don't have that and they think that, you know, they're just going to go to school until, you know, it's time to go and leave and come back and do things after school that's not progressive, you know, after school that's not good for them, you know, then they're not going to go anywhere, you know. But if we need to have more influencers to go back into the schools and let them know that, you know, everybody has a brain here, everybody has the same equality as long as you put the hard work into it, you know. You can't get, you know, shy of it, scared of it, you know, demotivated to it. You know, you gotta keep them on a constant train to success, you know, because they can be diverted easily.
Right. There are some things like this that takes a lot of active work. Like you have to.
But we are at, you know, that gap that you said, the Black community is on their way to a rise.
For sure.
You know, they are. You know, we have to kind of also concentrate on the good that the Black community has done and the direction they're going into, opposed to making it seem like it's victimizing, you know, or oppressing,
Correct.
you know. And we need to focus on the positive so we can influence the rest to do the same. You can't
So
keep saying that. Go ahead.
so yeah.
Go
So I'm just piggybacking on your point there in terms of exposure. That's what happened with me. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy because the opportunities are literally already there. Some of them are
It's just the
already
drive.
there.
You just need the drive. The drive. You need the drive. You need the motivation. You need the guidance. The guidance. That's what I was going back, you know, to the father figure. Crime bills have taken away fathers for small, minor drug offenses or minor, you know, criminal offenses that should have been very, very low term consequences opposed to life sentences that have you just stripped away a father from a kid for 18 years of his life, first 18 years of his life. You know, so you really need that guidance, you know, to drive you. That person to say, hey, you're not gonna skip a semester. Hey, get your ass. No, you're coming home from school. Get your ass to do homework first before you pick up a video game. You
Right,
know,
right.
like, you know, respect this person. Hey, why'd you tell that person? Why'd you disrespect that person like that? You respect, you know, like you need that guidance to keep you on the right track. And if, you
I
know, and I hope that
mhm. I agree. It really
I hope
depends.
that we
Like role models. That's what we're looking for. Role models. Parents normally role models. It needs to be made that success is cool. What kind of
yes,
success?
the correct role models,
The
because
correct
kids
role models.
do
We have
have
role
in those
models that
bad
aren't doing
areas.
the right stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. You can, that's why the thing is, they'll be either from 8 years old to 13 years old, and they look up to a gang member. You know what I'm saying? That got money, that got cars, that got
Or-
this. That's
yeah,
something to look up to, but it's not a good thing to look up to.
no.
You know what I mean? And they catch him early on. And what happens? Those are your developing years in your mind, and that is what the person that you will become. You know what I'm saying? So we need the community, especially the Black community, needs to really be more involved. I know that there's so many things going on in the Black communities that they're helping and striving, but we really need to get to the kids, man, because that's where it starts. If we got to embed that success, we got to embed that motivation, because when they do face that false role models, wrong role models, they can deflect that and they can keep into the right direction.
I think so too. Role models, man. The role models are different. In terms of because I spoke about this to someone I know in terms of me and my friend group versus a lot of other guys I see. The only difference between us, literally, there's nothing else. It's just the people that we look up to. That was it. That
That's
was
it,
it.
man.
Like The
That's it.
people that I look up to, even today, are very different from a lot of my friends. A lot of the things that I'm into, a lot of the books that I'm reading, like
Even the music you listen to.
even the music I listen to, it's so
That's it.
massively different.
The
So in
way
terms
you
of,
may, the way you carry yourself, or you dress, or it's just the drive. It's different, and it really, as a whole, can change your success.
it
Make it
changes
or
your
break it.
perception. It
Correct.
changes your
Correct.
perception and the things that you're seeing.
Correct.
And
Correct.
your perception, it opens up more opportunities for you. Now,
Correct.
not the thing is, a lot of this stuff is not pushed into the mainstream. Again, like I was saying before, it's really just the sum of what you're consuming on a daily basis.
Yeah, a lot of
So
it's
if
all you see in the mainstream is negative, and
most,
every aspect of life is negative. They need to push positivity, so that
so
way that can motivate people.
So we about to shift topics because you are
Dale, let's do it.
absolutely right. Yo, so we started this conversation, we got into, does racial inequality exist? Like
And you
straight out
held it
the
down.
bat.
We're like, hey, we're not gonna write no novels on Messenger.
We're not gonna
We
write no
ain't gonna
novels
do
on
that.
Messenger. This ain't the way. This ain't
It
the
ain't
way.
the way, man. This is the way.
This is the
Communication,
way.
emotional interaction, to see how to
Right.
understand each other at the same level, eye level. You know what I
So
mean?
so peep it. So in terms of racial inequality, I don't think it's anything anyone's doing to us. I think it's something that's more deep rooted and it's been there for a while. And the course correction is not just like an instant, hey, are you holding me back? But it's a more gradual push and change.
And
However,
and, and yeah.
what the media is doing does not help in the slightest bit. And what I see is two directions, or two things that's happening that is keeping the cycle going.
Mhm.
And that affects those two areas, education and finance. The first one is the media representation of Black men specifically. And I'm talking
Mhm.
about, that goes to culturally in terms of music, like artists, when I'm talking about role models.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm also talking about what's shown in the news on a daily basis too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if they can just throw the bad shit away, just throw it away, right? And just literally show what the Black community is doing positive today, each day, that would
It
do a drastic difference.
it'll change the
Drastic
world.
difference.
It would change the world. The thing
And
is,
real quick, to piggyback what you just said right now, if they I'm sorry, continue. Go ahead. Continue.
okay, so
Go ahead.
the two things, role models, how Black men are depicted,
Mhm.
period. Every time you turn on the news, you see Black men being harassed, you see
Yeah, yeah.
Black men being hurt, stomped on, whatever the case may be. And if you're not seeing a Black man hurt, harassed, or stomped on, you're seeing a Black man as a criminal. He's either a criminal,
Opposed to a great interaction between law enforcement and a Black man,
which happens all the
between
time.
a Black man helping a law enforcement officer to subdue a Black man, a criminal
Yeah,
Black
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Just simple things like that are not shown. And if they're shown on a daily basis, mentalities will change.
It will change. It will shift. I don't think there's enough positive interactions that we see of law enforcement. Just the branding of law enforcement is trash. The branding,
The
the
same way they
branding
brand the law
right now.
enforcement bad is the same way they do the Black community bad.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Now, okay, so in terms of racism, in terms of racism, and it all goes back to branding. In terms of the way I see people talk about police, it all goes back to branding. Right now, I think I've had two like experiences of racism in my personal life. I think the first one was just on MySpace. I joined, it was years ago, as you can imagine. I joined a MySpace chat room for punk rock music, and this is gonna tie in. And I jumped in the room and it was like, get out of here. We don't want any niggers in here, niggers. And
Damn.
I was like, okay, I just like Linkin Park, you know what I mean? I thought
And
Avenged
how many people
Sevenfold
said
was
that?
cool.
Everybody said it. One or two people said it. Three people
Oh,
said it.
it got lit. you know, once the
Yeah,
floodgates
everybody.
opened, it
They
was like,
start jumping on them.
yo, but
Yeah,
it was some people like, leave him alone, he's cool.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
That's why we
but I was
can't
like, yo,
generalize, everything,
it's just kind of the way of the world. So that was like years ago, but that opened my mind like, oh shit, this shit is still around. And then the second time I told you some examples. There were some cops held, my dad down, assumed that he stole a vehicle, right? There have been micro things that are in my mind. I can't prove if this was actual racism. This is like what most people consider racism today. All the things
yeah.
that you can't prove, like,
They
hey,
think
was this racist or
they
not?
think that they think that force is racism. They think that without understanding the position of an officer and them doing something with force is racism. There's a lot of, like we were speaking briefly about it. There's a lot of misunderstanding on both sides, and I really hope that maybe some people like me or you can do something about it. Because people do they think officers are doing something for a certain reason and it's not, and then officers might think that civilians might be doing something for a reason and it's not, due to other things that have occurred
So okay,
before.
so let's get into that a little bit. How do we bridge the gap? Because
Well,
making
let's
sense
go into
of
that. Let's use your example. Let's use your story as an example, like we were
okay,
getting into.
yeah.
Like you had said that they said these people came out, they pressed your father, they had you there, you know because they suspected there was a stolen vehicle.
Yeah.
It's they weren't beating on your father. You know what I'm saying? They probably weren't saying no racial slurs. You know, and they could have possibly honestly believed that was a stolen vehicle. Many times, a stolen vehicle comes out and they say, "Hey, this is the description of the vehicle." Black male inside or two black males inside, and the description of the vehicle, that brand, that color. Hey, you might have just been in the area with the same description. Now a cop is not going to go lightly to the situation, because if they go lightly to the situation, we've already seen so many videos that when officers go lightly, it usually ends up bad for them.
Hmm.
They usually are off guard, they get caught off guard, they get killed, they get shot, they get hurt, and that's what we were talking about, a little bit of traumas. A black man might get pulled over and see how other black men are shown on the news of how they're treated all the time, which is not all the time, and then they'll quickly react to a police officer. And then a police officer might kind of take his gun out and have it ready because they've seen their other law enforcement officers get killed in the same instance. You know what I mean? So like, it's a stolen car. Why would they not have guns out? If they didn't have guns out, that other cop that didn't have his gun out when he pursued a stolen vehicle, he went up to the driver's window without his gun, and he got killed. He wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? So now that those cops are like, hey, you know what? I gotta be ready. I'm not gonna be a Nazi and have it at the kid's head or that person's head, just because I'm scared or worried. But I'm gonna have the gun here because I gotta go home.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And in that very sense, the black community needs to understand that they're doing it for their safety, not because they're trying to show force and intimidate you. You know what I mean?
Now,
And people might get that sense of wrong, a perception of that. You know what I mean? And
I
and
mhm. I
and then the
hear
same
that. I
thing back. And
hear
the same thing with
oh yeah. I'm sorry.
the black community. I'm sure they have their reason. They're like, hey, listen, buddy of mine got lit up, when he got a traffic stop. But did buddy was reaching for a gun? Did buddy actually have a gun? Some people exclude those factors. You know what I'm saying? And people just got to understand that cops do certain things in certain situations, not just because, hey, you ran a red light or you ran a stop sign. We just don't want to leave the house and ruin and jeopardize our families and our careers and our finances because we just wanted to catch a body. You know what I'm saying? And people got to take
Yeah.
that perception away.
So that's what I think is going on. It's this right here is probably the most sensitive thing on the planet at the moment,
Mhm.
it's the job of police officers, specifically against Black men, because there is already, like I was saying, awareness. And the reason I wanted to get in this, a perception that something can happen. Already, the threat level is not threat level green. No.
It's not. It's always yellow. It's yellow.
So because I've experienced this myself. I've been in the car. I've been, hanging with some friends. I get pulled over. To be honest, the last time this happened, I don't even think I was doing anything crazy. I don't even know why I got pulled over, because I left with a warning. Granted, mind you, keep this in your mind. I left with a warning, but however, when I was pulled over, the officer held his hand on this gun the entire interaction between himself and me. And of course, I'm being incredibly polite. And when we were talking, eventually he took his hand off the gun. But
that's because he got to know you a second. He got to know you. He don't
exactly.
know
So,
you. When he comes up to your window, it don't matter what color you are. He don't know you. But once he realizes that you're a different type of man, educated, logical, understanding, then you alleviate that. But a cop is not going to go up to a window without knowing you and be like, not nowhere near his gun. Because what happens? You get to your gun first, you shoot him, it's over.
Now,
So, like I said, this ain't Nazi Germany where he went up to your car and says, hey, license, registration, insurance, like with the gun at your head, you know what I mean? But the dude got to be careful. He saw so many of his colleagues die for little mistakes of not even being near their gun, for over trusting, and stuff like that,
that right there, to me, that right there is the craziest thing happening in America between Black men specifically and police officers, careers, job force. Because before I'm seen as myself, I am first Black man, threat level yellow, everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. And that affects everything that I do. It doesn't only affect how I'm perceived by police officers, it affects how I'm perceived when I walk in a room and I'm the only Black person there. Oh, who is this guy? Who'd you bring? I remember walking with a friend on a golf course the other day, and it was just 99% white people, and it was just me and my friend. Let's say 95%. And we
Well,
walk
we
up.
could agree on that there's a higher white population opposed to a 13%.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're in the minority. We're
within
in the
that
minority.
13% Black community, you have Black people in jail, you have children, you have women, that probably are not, are home or whatever, and so that number comes down drastically from 13% lower for having Black males around in many areas. You know what I mean?
But
you might be the only Black man in the room, but it's not because somebody's trying to shorten the Black presence. It might be because there's not enough Black people pursuing that area, or you know what I mean?
I truly think that there's nothing being done, quote unquote, on purpose, but there's a subconscious attitude in the air.
Maybe when you start talking and show them what you're about, they
but
drop.
but I stopped becoming I stopped from being just Black man, and I become, oh, that's Lee. Hey, Lee. Now that's different when it comes to that point. But before that point, I'm just a representation of my race.
And that
Now,
doesn't only happen to race. It could be somebody who walks into a room and be intimidating, right? That gives a
that's
person a certain
exactly what it
perception.
is.
That same perception. They'll get the same perception that they have of you being Black and coming into that room is a person having the same perception. Hey, that guy is intimidating, or that guy doesn't look approachable, or or that guy looks like an asshole.
Yes. Yes.
And that was going to bring me into a fact of, I don't want to drift too far. Maybe this could be a specific individual topic, but I I honestly believe racism is not a widespread problem in America. I believe that racism is a preference, just like anybody would come in. Maybe somebody doesn't like short people, you know, maybe somebody doesn't like tall people, you know, maybe somebody doesn't like people, you know, with certain type of size lips, you know, whatever it may be, or haircut. You know, a guy comes in with a pink mohawk, you know what I mean? That, oh, boom, I don't like that person now because they look unprofessional. You know, that gives these preferences. You know, so race, I don't believe that racism is a widespread problem. I just believe that racism just falls into a preference category. You know, and there's just certain people that just don't like certain people because of their color of their skin, but it's not like a widespread poisonous problem. It's just like, hey, you know, how do we change people from not liking short people that walk in the room, or if they don't like short people that walk in the room, you know, or how do we like somebody who doesn't like tall people, you know, because they wish they could be tall and they were never tall and now they don't like that tall person, you know, like, is that what kind of word is that? What kind of word can we make? What, I don't know, like, but this the word that we have for racism. Can we make a word for that? And can we make that up? Can we blow that category up? You know, for people that don't like tall people coming into a room. You know, so that's how I kind of.
So I hear what you're saying. Yes, I think it's exactly like that. It's polarizing. If you don't like short people and you see a short person walk in the room, you don't want a short person there. I think like, you don't want them there.
You know, but
Yo,
now
get out. This is tall only, bro.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yo.
Like segregation, all right? Tall people only, right? You know,
but
then that's the same thing, saying by people, ain't no black people allowed, you know, but people take it to a really stronger offense because of the past and slavery. But we got to get to an understanding that it's a more of a preference than a individual attack. You know what I mean?
That's the thing that we agree on. That's, I think, our biggest common ground. I don't think that's an individual attack. I don't think it's something that people are deliberately doing to Black people at all. I think there is something subconsciously going on in the imaging already. I mean, I see it.
Perception of what they see. And we have
perception of what they see.
All positive stuff for Black people, Hispanic people, white people. You know, the next time you see those people, you might just have a positive thought before a negative one.
That problem really exists here in America, right? It really exists here in our country because the way we see crime. And it's really done purposefully. When you travel outside of the States, if you go to like Europe, you say you go to Asia, some places, people have a high esteem for Black people. It's because of every time they see a Black guy, it's Black Panther. Every time they see a Black person, it's an athlete. They see Black people.
Perception, Kobe or LeBron, or,
It's
you know,
LeBron, it's Kobe, it's
Jordan, you know,
it's somebody. Oh, snap, Jay-Z performed or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, you must be incredibly talented. You must be. So whenever I go outside of the country, oh man, like, what do you do? People are interested.
Do you play basketball?
Yeah, what do you like? Can we play basketball? People ask me. That's kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. But can we play? I guess, yeah, we'll play. Oh, snap, you're good. I'm just okay. I'm just all right. You know what I mean? But these are kind of the things that people are asking. When I walk into a room anywhere else, it could be, oh, snap. This person might be dangerous. This person might be a threat.
Because they just finished watching the news this morning or last night of some Black man committing a certain crime.
You know
what I mean? But I bet you anything, they show something positive,
each other, and they all look the same. They all look, Black pictures all look the same for some reason. And when these routine stops occur, you don't know if it's Black man code red, code yellow, code green, but we're all treated on the same equality of you are representing a Black man before you're representing yourself. Now, that might be
a little bit of a mixed conception.
Okay.
Because listen, there will be cops. There's going to be some bad priests. There's going to be bad doctors. There's going to be bad daycare workers. There's going to be bad mothers, bad fathers. There are bad cops. But that percentage, just like anything else, a bad priest, a bad doctor, whatever, is minimal. Because we're all human beings. And remember, that racist thing is more of a preference, you know? So you don't know for sure who the hell is racist, you know, until they blatantly show it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So when that cop comes up to you the way he does, the Black community got to understand they got to stay at green. Why? Because whatever their actions are will create the officer's actions. But the officer, and I've been pulled over before, and I'm already nervous, whatever. That's the natural. That's natural. You nervous? You see those lights, and you're just fucking already shaking, you know. But we gotta put it out there that you gotta stay calm, green when you're the one being pulled over, and you gotta understand that naturally, by job wise, the officer has to be at yellow already, naturally. He has to, because even if it's just a expired tag, how many people, we can look up the records, how many cops have been killed for stopping a car just for an expired tag?
So okay, okay.
Like,
So that's
so
perfect. So this kind of same thing about perception, it works in both ways. It's working in tandem. So on one end, we have the cops looking in, saying, "Hey, I have to be on guard. I have to be in a place where I can go home to my family tonight."
they got a gun on their side for a reason, outside their hip for a
Right.
reason, because it's got to go at any
So they're
moment.
saying, "Hey, any event could be the event. It ain't gonna be the event today." All right. So they're coming out the gate like that. So anxiety levels could be pushed up a little bit anytime they have to make a stop. I can't even imagine you have to do that, because engaging people is hard enough. But then
And you don't know what they did yesterday, where when they did the same situation, and they had to roll up in the middle of the highway fighting with somebody,
bruh,
and now they're gonna do it again today, and they're
yo,
like, fuck, you know.
that's a thing. That's a thing. So in terms of perception, they want to keep all these encounters minimal. In terms of people looking in, they also see things on the news. They see people who look like them, people who they identify with. Again, you're some of the influences that you see and the things that you're hanging around. So if you see like 3 Black dudes get shot up on the news literally yesterday, and you get pulled over by a cop, your
trauma levels, because just like we said, the cops had that same trauma level of seeing their partners die, and now your Black community is seeing their community, you know,
community, people who
being
look like
treated
them or people who they identify with.
correct. Then that I get it. So how we got to find a way where we can come to a common understanding or common perception, you know. And unfortunately, the media doesn't help that. The media continues to relapse that. No matter what progress we make, the media continues to relapse it, because with that negativity. If we can get on the same page, say, hey man, hey media, put out the exact information that happened on that stop. Don't just say it was just because they ran a stop sign, and don't just say because they're Black. Please put out the rest of the information. Make it known why that cop went from condition yellow to red. You know what I'm saying? Don't just make it seem it was just done because a Black man was driving a vehicle and it happened to a traffic infraction. They don't put all the information out, and now it gives the Black community a sense of perception that it's gonna happen to them if they run a red light.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
okay, so good. And that's a real good point. So in terms of what we're saying here is this: on your end, you're saying there has to be some kind of sensitivity where we need to say, hey, look, some people, cops want to return to their family. They don't necessarily know if they will.
And Black community wants to return to their family.
And I was just about to say the same thing. In reverse,
but I know that. I could realize that, you know.
We want to return to our family too. So in terms of the sensitivity, it needs to work vice versa, you know? So
one can't do without the other. You know what I'm saying?
we need each other to survive and exist. You know what I'm saying?
And I personally experienced true racism once
Yeah.
in West Milford, and it was actually with your cousin Kevin.
Get out.
It was with Kevin. All right.
Yeah,
we went up to check out some haunted road. Things didn't really go so well. I was pulled over, and the racism part was when they gave me a stack of tickets. You know what I mean? And I didn't. All right, it is what it is. But when they left, when they were about to leave, they told me, stay in your own town next time. Those words are burned into my brain. Now, that's the only one time I have ever experienced true racism other than being just looked weird up and down when I came into a room. And like I told you, that has to be taken lightly as a preference. You know what I mean? If somebody's just looking at you up and down because you're a certain ethnicity or certain race,
they could just hate beards, bro.
They could just be looking at you. You're damn. Where do you get that jacket at? And it ain't because you black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the racism part is that blatant racism. You know what I'm saying? And that racism is stay in your own town next time. I didn't know we had passports to be going to another town, a neighboring town, you know?
Right.
So me as a law enforcement officer now, I've seen both sides of the fence. You know what I'm saying? So there is, like I told you, the bad apples. There is bad apples, but let me tell you that bad apples you can count percentagely with your hand. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It does not represent the whole garden. You know, so we both sides got to understand that. You know, but that was a racist cop. To tell
right?
Me that.
Yeah.
You know, you had a Hispanic male in the driver's seat, and you had your Kevin in the passenger seat, and say that shit. That shit's just wrong. Yeah. But that happens very, very minimal, man. And we gotta find a middle ground where when an officer comes up and says, hey man, license, registration, insurance, you know, you gotta meet him with that same level. You know, don't just say, what you mean, man? What you mean? Nah, I don't gotta give you my license. What you mean? What I do? Just right. We gotta understand, man. If the guy came with it's not even like a thug coming rolling up on you. You know what I'm saying? It was like a guy with a tie, with a button down, a uniform, maybe a hat, you know, pens and pins and medals, and saying, hey, license, registration, insurance.
I think it's a lot of compliance and dealing and trying to comply is really
the education to show them that if you do comply, 99.9%, you're gonna be good. You know, you were a black male that got pulled over and you were given a warning. The dude didn't even hit you with a ticket. You know what I'm saying? So clearly there was no racism. There was no hate for your color there. He saw you as a human being. He said, "Here, you know what?
I'm not gonna lie. I have another story. Didn't go quite well. I'm not gonna share it. I'm not gonna share it. This
more
time.
for I'm sure. But yeah.
We
but you know what I mean? It's just you gotta take it to the moment. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like if you got a bad apple messing with you, hey, you know what? Record it. Come make a complaint about it. Make it viral. Get that dude fired. Fine. But don't meet his peacefulness with hostility at first.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And just know that, dude, you just record it and make a complaint. Why are you gonna make matters so much worse that you almost got to get shot because the officer now thinks you're gonna shoot him?
Right. I think I think that's something that we can kind of take away, because now I want to get to the takeaways.
All right.
Dealing with a lot of this stuff, and we didn't even get to some of the things that I wanted to get to, like when we were talking about financing and moving property and making investments within the Black community. We didn't even get there. I wanted to. I almost did, but I was like, this police discussion is way more important. So
we could do it. We could do it sometime. You know,
for
definitely
sure.
Up for it.
We could definitely run it back. But I did want to say, in terms of a takeaway that I got was just empathy. You know, seeing past someone as what you would consider a bad apple officer, and saying like, hey, this person has a job to do. This person, you know, has their own things going on, fears, whatever it is, or preconceptions, whatever it is, and we're just trying to get home. It's empathy, seeing past that stuff and getting to how we can solve this thing reasonably and amicably between the both of us.
We just got to understand both sides. If an officer is not racist and he gets to your window and you're at condition and you're at the same level of respect with one another, it will stay like that. That's what both sides has to understand.
Sounds good.
Both sides will progress on what both sides do. If the officer comes up and starts screaming out the bat, whatever, Now this guy, the driver might bump it up a level. You know what I mean? But you got one side got to understand. I get it. Some cops can be hot headed. That might, sometimes somebody does something so dangerous, man, that it could have probably killed anybody. Now the cop comes up to the window, is like, "Yo, man, wait," because bro, like he just saw almost you kill somebody. And you gotta, and unfortunately, that force is not gonna register well to other people. It's not. They're already gonna think that, this cop is already yelling at me and all this stuff. And I don't know how we can move back by that perception. But at least when an officer does come up to your window, man, with a uniform and looking like professional, and it's not like some guys that's rolling up on you trying to fucking, rob you. You gotta understand his position of, he's a law enforcement officer. He's enforcing laws, and he's just asking for your driver's license and insurance. And you just gotta, here you go, officer. Sorry for whatever I did. But here's my information. And you have so many black people that have been pulled over, man, that do that and have no complaints about officers. There has to be some little elements that happen, man, that trigger certain things to get it to the next level.
Right.
But if both sides can understand, like, this guy's got a job to do, and this guy, I got to get him on his way. Just let me get him either a lecture, either a warning, or a ticket. To prevent you from not doing it again. Because human beings don't really learn unless there's consequence. Unless you get burned, it's usually these water, it's just water slipping up the shoulder, and you kind of repeat the same mistake. At least, unless your pocket getting hit, you don't really learn, right? Especially in the investor world. You might get too greedy. You might not pull out by 20%. You know what I mean? You might lose too much. You're like, hey, I ain't gonna do that again. So certain things, so just, it's just all it is, man. That's all it is. So just gotta feed off that. Black community understand, hey man, these people are law enforcement officers. These people got a job to do. This ain't the assassin squad. These ain't some thugs rolling up on me in the middle of the street while I'm walking home. These people are men and women that have had this job the day before yesterday, and the day after tomorrow. You know what I mean?
It's a job.
And they got it for a reason. They kept it for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So they got to just, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Hey, here's the license, registration, insurance. Let me know what I did. And that's it. And the cop is just trying to get in and get out, man. He saw something bad. He's trying to either going to teach you the lesson, either by teaching you verbally, or, respectfully, or a warning, or a ticket.
Hey, I want to definitely run this back one.
Majority
I
of
got some cop questions for you, Jose.
You don't see a cop.
Okay, did you hear me? I think my connection is like getting a little crazy.
No, I got you. You're freezing up right now. I don't know why you're frozen.
A word where I'm still frozen.
Man, completely frozen. Okay, you're back now. You're back.
Okay, cool.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you for the past 10 seconds. What'd you say?
I was saying, we gotta run.
What'd you say? You gonna run it back? What'd you say?
We gotta run it back. I want to ask you some more cop questions now. Now I got so much questions to ask. For real, yo.
Brother, you're a black educated male. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a law enforcement officer that's just trying to do right. You know what I mean? And we can meet in the middle and maybe change some perceptions on both sides.
I think that's something that I want to do too. I want to have more of these kind of difficult conversations. Granted, some of this stuff is so complex that I don't have the answers on how to solve a lot of this stuff, because a lot of it goes so deep down. But I think starting the conversation is at least one step there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm here.
Yo, I appreciate your time, dog. This was dope, man.
Of course, brother.
Dope. Yo.
I'm down. I love it.